You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
You wouldn't match, by any chance, would you?
Embrace the probability of your imminent death. And know, in your heart, that there's nothing I can do to save you.
Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade?
I don't know.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
It's the Al Travis Show. It's Clean Up in Aisle 9, and yeah, but with Senator Susan Kent. You're probably pretty ticked at me. Don't take this wrong. I like you and Senator Housley for the same reason. This is why I don't. You guys go with the flow no matter what I throw at you. I had no doubt you came today with plenty of political things we should discuss, and I started with weddings and took the first half hour.
There's a list. Yes.
Okay.
Right here. I got it.
Okay. So I get, it's what I like about you. And again, Housley is the same way. I get off on a hockey story and we're off and running, and it doesn't always necessarily use you to your best talents, but I enjoyed your conversation about weddings. You can do that with most. Okay. So I hope you're not thinking I'm wasting your time, because this half, I promise we'll get into some stuff that I seriously want to talk about. And here's what
I seriously want to talk about, but okay.
We'll go through mine quick, and then we'll go to yours. Over the weekend, Tom Hauser interviewed the governor about, and he asked a lot of questions. He's good at what he does. But one of the things was, we're going to have any more fraud stories coming out. And the governor said, more than likely, these are really bad guys and they're professionals and that. Kind of almost like water off a duck's back from my point of view. It's just like, yep, probably going to see more. And maybe you get to a point with all we had, it really is either that or you just cry yourself to sleep every night. So maybe there's something to that. But here's what I want to ask you as a professional. The Republicans, I'm not going to give everybody, but there's Scott Jensen, who ran last time, so name recognition. You got Kendall Qualls, who's given this a shot a couple times. A new name in would be Kristen Robbins from your neck of the woods, right? And she's on that fraud.
Kristen Robbins, from the House. Yeah.
From the House. So, and she's on the fraud committee. So I would tell you that I believe those are probably the leaders, and who's head and bad, not my problem. I don't think it's over. Kurt Dowd over the weekend said, I'm not sure, I'm not out yet. Now, some of you will have to look up Kurt Dowd. That's been a while. His window is closer to close than open in my book, but okay, he wants in.
Former Speaker of the House, and he and I were minority leaders together, so yes.
But this is how I get it, because he has the chops for it. I'm not ripping Dowd. He has been to the power. He knows what he's doing, but we are literally a month, or 1 year, 12 months from the election.
The election, yeah.
At some point it gets too late, but you have the doubters, made that up myself, who are out there. Maybe he gets in, maybe he doesn't. I personally don't think we have the whole field. We know the Democratic side is.
I agree.
You do?
Yeah.
When is it too late? At some point, the people who help run elections are going to be all sucked up, and now it's just you and your wife.
Yeah,
or husband.
I mean, technically, I think, people could probably wait until, 6 months or so, because you could have the conventions and that sort of thing, but you really need to be laying that groundwork pretty soon here. And you run into practical realities like the end of the year, nobody really wants to pay attention, everybody's gonna be kind of done from
here
cycle,
to New Year. Agreed.
And the holidays and all that sort of stuff, and then you kind of got to get people refocused, and then you get into the Senate district conventions. I'm talking about from the party structure, so those conventions will be happening in the spring, and anybody who's running wants to be making the rounds to all of those and as an announced candidate, so yeah. Just
because you understand that, I get what you're saying. The what do you call them? District meetings. What do they call them, Al?
The Republicans call them BPOUs.
BPOUs, thank you. That was what I was going to, starts at the county level and goes on up. So there's a lot of work to do there to get the nominations.
And it's mostly, it fundamentally comes back to the Senate district.
Yeah. So that's got to go on. Whatever happened, you had to kind of be in by Labor Day so you could be at the state fair. Is that seriously out the door? That doesn't matter anymore? And I take it because of computers and stuff. Didn't they all have to be in by then? I mean,
primaries. It's like but you're going to have primaries. So you're going to have to have been in well before that, because the primary is going to be in August.
Well, I'm talking this year. Shouldn't you have already been in? That you missed a whole opportunity to hang at the fair and say I'm in?
In theory, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So all that being said,
this has been a weird year. You know what I mean? It's like everything going on with the Trump administration, and how
just the session. How the session went, then it went long, then we had the shooting, and then we had, this has been a crazy summer. I do not disagree with that. Even your own governor, who decided to get back in, took forever because it was one weird thing after the next.
Exactly. So, so it has been a really tough, because I've been in conversations with people who, are thinking about these kinds of things for themselves. Right. Yeah. And there's so much uncertainty, right? Because everybody is used to trying to game out, okay, so the election cycle after midterms is usually really good for the party that's not in power. And, but what does that look? And then, that's the last Trump administration, that was especially true, but at the same time, Democrats are sort of looking at kind of everything, and it has been a weird time for people in both parties who are trying to make these decisions. And
some of the self-inflicted, Walz can go again if he wants to, not my business, but the idea that he waited so long to tell people that he was going to do it again, because I think Ellison and Steve Simon were both inkling, card term there, that they'd get involved in the governorship if he decided not to, but then he did. So, right. It's been weird.
And it does has a spill down effect, right? So if somebody, was thinking they might run for governor on either side, right? But then depending on who gets in, then maybe if I want to do something, I'll do this or whatever. And as we've talked about, certainly on the DFL side, these things don't open up a lot, and people aren't typically credibly challenging sitting. Constitutional
the Smith seat was big. When's the last time a sitting senator who at her age, and I mean that in a positive sense, just says I'm walking away, and that opened up a whole can of worms with the people figuring. So it's been strange. But back to my original point, bringing Doogie Howser, Tom Hauser. I put that in my head. I knew I was going to do that. Tom Hauser back to and this fraud thing, and the governor saying he thinks there'll be more found. I think Representative Robbins, was able to get in and be somebody. I don't mean that in a bad way. Be somebody right away is because she led that fraud thing. And I think fraud is going to be one of the two big topics in this election. I don't know how it can go away soon enough for it not to be. So I get that from her. I'm asking you, Senator Kent, I believe fraud's going to be at least one or number two on the list. What are the topics? Again, we're a year away and things change. But what are the topics you believe whoever gets in is going to have to be good on?
Well, I think, and I know I've mentioned this before, we've got another, so we are not even a year into the Trump administration, this go around, right?
Yeah.
And it is chaotic beyond words. We are in the third week of a shutdown. We're about to see serious ramifications within our states with this cut of SNAP benefits. And all of this stuff is going to start trickling down to some tough decisions for state level people and county and city level people too.
Yes.
Because we're going to be looking at our neighbors who are literally starving, or other problems are getting exacerbated, healthcare related issues and hospital funding and that kind of stuff. And all of that is going to leave local leaders with a tough conversation about, do we let these people suffer at the hands of our federal government, or do we somehow try to step in and make things better locally? And that's going to cause budget ramifications for us here. So how that all plays out, and the way that people look at the federal government, and I read a thing recently where two of Minnesota's Republican congresspeople might actually be a little more vulnerable than anyone otherwise might have imagined because of this kind of stuff. And so all of this dynamic is really going to affect how voters come to the polls in next November in a way that I don't think we can even fully comprehend right now.
Well, and again, back to 12 months seems like a long time, but it is in politics. With all the things you're talking about with this CR, the lack of the government being shut down.
And that's just
this isn't going to happen for 12 months, but you're saying...
Let's talk about tariffs. Let's talk about our soybean farm.
Can we do it on the other side?
Well, I'm just saying all of them. Yeah.
No, I get it. I asked your opinion what it would be, and you're saying what we're I was if I say it for you. What we're going through now, closed government and CRs and bean prices, this is what you think is going to be 1 and 2 or the biggest topics. I'm telling you, I think it's fraud. We can disagree, but I don't think we're that far off. We'll talk your topics on the other side of the break. See what I did there? Give you enough time and all this. It's Senator Susan Kent. God love her.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Everybody knows you have to have a guy in the auto repair business. If you want a car, you need to know Paul. Paul owns Jay's Auto Shop. I don't know. Ask him. Jay's Auto Shop's locally and veteran owned. Paul's your guy in the car business. He'll fix just what needs fixing, make sure it's done right, and at a fair price. You want to know your car's being taken care of, take it to Paul at Jay's Auto Shop, 202 North Main Street, Blue Earth, 507-525-1052, 507-525-1052.
As in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And with a whole 7 minutes, I give it back to Susan. I'm sorry, I get it. I just come excited to talk about stuff, and the wedding thing took too long. Yes, you were looking to chat about something?
Well, there's all sorts of stuff we can talk about this week. Like,
can I talk the bean thing? Oh, if yours was a bean thing, I'd love to talk the bean thing.
Well, let me talk about it. Can we talk about it this way? Because you were talking about like fraud, for example, which I don't know how we want to characterize that, is misuse of taxpayer dollars could be in the list, that sort of thing. Right. And that's the thing right now. So we obviously have all the tariffs that are affecting our economy in all sorts of ways, many of which there were warnings about, but okay, now everybody's sort of recognizing how this really works. And it's only going to get worse, right? Because entities that could absorb those costs for a while are now going to really start passing them on, and people are going to see this over and over. And I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump promised everybody that he'd lower prices on day one, and we're seeing the opposite of that. But if you look right now at this Argentina bailout, 40 billion with a B taxpayer dollars to help Trump's friend in Argentina. And then as soon as that promise goes through, Argentina then drops their tariffs on soybeans. So not only are American, and let's be clear, Minnesota is one of the top soybean producing states in the country. Not only are our farmers really struggling because the international market for our soybeans is gone. We are not shipping a single soybean out of this country anymore. And then now Argentina, who we're giving 40 billion American taxpayer dollars to, suddenly has all sorts of openings in the soybean trade universe. The other thing that I'll just say about this really quickly is that amount of money would fund 2 years of these Affordable Care Act health insurance subsidies that are part of the shutdown topic. They would also fund 2 years of the SNAP benefits that are going to really hurt, truly food insecure people. Nobody's talking about this much, but it's been written up in credible news that.
Well, let me throw this out.
The Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, has a couple of friends who are big hedge fund dudes that they're deeply invested in Argentina and deeply financially vulnerable. And we may be giving $40 billion away to make Trump's friend happy and to take care of Scott Bessent's hedge fund friends. So
real quickly, especially the soybean thing, because I have a guy comes on, my farmer guy, every week, and we discuss the soybean thing. So I have a real quick answer for that. But first, the money we send to other countries, now that Donald Trump's in charge, of course, we take an ironclad look at it. No one seemed to be screaming when we were sending money to create Sesame Street in some foreign world in South Africa. Because no one seemed to care. But now because USAID.
Okay. It was tiny little amounts of money.
Let's talk the soybean.
$40 billion. Let me talk the soybean.
Let me talk
that we're giving away to another country that has that we have no value to us.
According to my soybean guy, he raises soybeans. He says there is no more localized selling of soybeans. Soybeans are a global market, just like corn. So when we put the screws to China, and China says we're not buying American soybeans anymore, we're going to buy them from Brazil, and that's it. Sounds horrible, and everyone thinks the world's going to crash. What then happens is they buy Brazil's soybeans. And all the people that the year before were buying Brazil soybeans can't because they're gone, then buy them from us. If you ask my soybean guy, which I did yesterday, he said soybeans are roughly at the exact same spot they were a year ago. Now, would they have been higher if there weren't trades? Maybe, we don't know, but it's exactly the price.
I need you to define what you mean by that. Is that like the price of them?
The price, what the farmer gets. Now, we'll know shortly whether they made more beans or not. That stuff comes out after they count it all up. But he says we're literally 1 year from now. He said maybe it would have been higher. It could have been. We'll never know. But the soybean farmer has not lost a dime from last year because of what's going on. He says that's because there's just a pool of soybeans. And he says, if you look now where the soybeans, you say none's leaving America. He says, if you look at the exports from last week, there are countries you couldn't even pronounce their name, you never heard of, that used to buy them from Brazil. They're buying them from us. The idea that the SNAP is ending and all the rest, and we can talk about health insurance and all that, the reason we feel that pain now is 100% the Democrats. 100% of the Republicans voted to continue going on with what we had, and we can discuss what happens in 2020. The health insurance doesn't go away to 2026. Every Republican has voted for the CR. The same CR 13 times every Democrat has voted for. You're stopping and saying the mean Republicans. It's not.
The so-called continuing CR is not exactly the same as it's been and particularly right now because Donald Trump has, I should phrase this differently. The Republican Congress, the House and the Senate have ceded their authority of the purse and budgeting to this particular president. They're not doing the stuff that they should be doing in terms of making sure that the Congress has the leadership role that the Constitution gives them over our budget. So all this stuff that Donald Trump has done, getting rid of agencies, getting rid of workers, getting rid of programs unilaterally, things that were set up by law that have not been unwound by law. So the tariffs, for example, those all were something that he waved a magic wand to do, and Congress is the one that actually has the authority to do that. But Congress let him keep that authority. All of those things now are not what was passed last year. That is not what they voted on last year. But all that stuff now is current to the way we operate within our budget. So the Democrats are saying, we're not going to support that. Also, everybody is getting their statements on health insurance right now. They have to make those decisions right now to affect what they pay in 2026. And it is going to be terrible sticker shock, including to a lot of farmers, by the way, because a lot of them are on the exchange.
And the sticker shock, I'm looking forward to the sticker shock because I'll be a part of that. And when we get the sticker shock and everybody finds out what healthcare really costs to each individual, not when the government sends you a check, which they took out of your left pocket to pay the right. That's what subsidies are. They're taking money out of this, and they're okay. Yeah, 1 minute. I'll give you the last minute.
That is the oversimplified version of how this works, because this is a risk pool, right? And so when you mess with these things, and it includes what we did to Medicaid and Medicare, it all affects the overall pool, and that's what affects the prices. But yes, we in America pay way too much for healthcare because we have an entire healthcare finance industry that takes a lot of money out of that. They get a lot of profit out of this, and the big corporations really want to support this. So it is an oversimplification, but Congress needs to get back to the negotiating table, but they won't, because Donald Trump won't let them. And we're now in week 3 of a shutdown, and we're getting ready to start really feeling the effects of it.
I'm out of time. Appreciate you, Senator Susan Kent. Yeah.